let's talk about what not a number actually means. Now, we've looked at this mystical object called NaN, and we've actually seen it being returned to us through invalid operations such as 55 and then px. We also get not a number. So what does not a number actually mean? Now, first what we'll do is add this in a variable. So we'll say const result equals a number with 55 pixels. Now, in the first console log, what we're going to do is use a global function called isNotANumber and then pass the result in. Now, because this gives us not a number, we know that this is completely invalid. We then see the word true because it's not a number. And the thing to think about here is the actual value NaN. And you can see that NaN is blue in the console. So you can see it's blue. It's not a string of NaN where it's a completely different color. It is a true value of the language. So we get this back, and in this first use case, it's pretty interesting because we could also do something like this, where we could say, I am a string. We can save this out, and we get true and true. Now, you may be thinking, this is correct. A string is not a number. And this global function is there to tell us whether something is a number or is it not. That's not actually the case. This function is NaN, specifically checks the value NaN, or at least that was what its original intention. Now, you could consider it slightly broken at this point because we have a string, and that's also being returned to us saying, hey, this string is not a number, when in fact, not a number is not a number. So yes, a string physically isn't a number, so you could consider that is not a number is broken because it literally isn't a number. So how could we fix that? Now, there's one interesting thing in ES 2015 which was added, and that is a new method on the number function. Now, what this method is a new updated version of this global isNaN. So here we could say, I want to pass the result in, and here we're going to say, I am another string. Save this out, and we'll see true and then false. So this is specifically checking whether this NaN is the returned value. If it is the returned value, then it is in fact not a number because we're checking specifically NaN. So this was introduced to the language in ES 2015 to fix things and quirks such as this, where we pass a string in and it's actually telling us that this is not a number as well. So this is behaving as we'd expect because isNaN returns us false because a string is not the value of NaN specifically. Now, while we're here, I'll show you one more thing. There's also some interesting methods. You see we can have isSafeInteger, or we can have isInteger. So this method is going to check whether a number is indeed a number. So for example, if we passed 66, this would give us true. If we passed .99, this would give us false because it's not an integer as such, it's a floating point number. So depending on your use case, depending on what you're trying to do or achieve, you have all of these operations and methods at your disposal. If, for instance, you are creating perhaps a library and you're doing some high performance calculations, some complex logic, we've already talked about using this NaN directly. Now in ES6, ES 2015, we have a new way to do this. We have the number.NaN, and this gives us basically the same value as NaN, but it's a more safer way to use it because it's not in the global scope. So if you're using NaN on its own and you want that physical value of NaN, you now understand that you can use this. We have NaN floating around in the global scope if you would like to use it. However, the most important one to avoid is this global is not a number because it produces incorrect results for what the function is called, which was then fixed with number.isNotANumber, where we pass the result in and we get the value of true, the value of false for a string because a string does not equal this NaN value. Now, to prove this even more, what we could do is pass in this number.isNotANumber into here, and you see that we have true. So the number.isNotANumber is the way to go for things when you want to specifically check that NaN value.